What up, what up, what up? Welcome back to your favorite podcast with your favorite podcast host, Freewenow.
Till it's backwards.
Yes, sir. And listen, we got a great guest for you today, man. Great guest. And we're spoiling you.
Spoiling you.
Our fans, our audience, we appreciate you supporting. But you should support. You know why? Because we spoil you. Okay? And we're bringing you another great episode with a lot of value. It's the perfect time for this episode as well with the New Year's coming up. We're in December, so a great time to lock in, write your goals down, throw like a little vision board party, you know what I mean? And really get your mind right and in the right headspace to make it $1 million year. Why not? What you got for the people, Keith?
Hey, man, as always, follow me on Instagram at Chief_Gilmore. Follow me on Twitter. Call me Sweat, bro. And I just love to do this. I love to be here. I love the environment. And you know what I'm saying? I get just as much value out of it as I think y'all do. Maybe
Facts.
even more, honestly.
Facts, honestly. All right. Welcome. Today we have Andrew Gonzalez. Clap it up, people. Clap it up. Andrew Gonzalez. Here we go. Yeah, man. Media mogul, young CEO, young empire in the works. And we mentioned it before, right? I think we all can share this, right? Us being males in the age range from 26 to 30. I think this is a huge critical time for just the male psyche and becoming the man that you want to be. So Andrew, man, welcome, man. What do you want to tell for the people to introduce yourself?
Man, for starters, thank you both for having me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys I walked in and I was just lit up by your guys' energy, bro. Like,
For sure.
So I know your audience has probably listened to this, ready to go, hyped up. So I love it. For starters, I just want to say thanks for having me. But
absolutely, man.
I'm very grateful to be here, and hopefully we can share some good knowledge.
For sure.
Share my journey and
absolutely.
A lot of what's kind of brought me here and getting to meet you fellas today too.
Absolutely.
Most definitely. We love that. So Andrew, with the first start, as we always introduce ourselves, tell us a little bit about who you are and like where you're from, how you're raised, like what makes you you.
Yeah. So I'm just an ordinary guy. I was born in Anaheim. My parents both from Mexico. I'm first generation born here.
Okay.
I went to high school in the Inland Empire.
Okay.
Always grew up not really knowing what I wanted to do. Was never really any good at school or any good at sports. I always had that like underdog chip on the shoulder that really pushed me from early on. And but I always had a liking to creativity, to creating things, to just like I wasn't someone who really liked doing anything in school, but I didn't like learning there. But if it was something that I was interested in, I would get obsessed about it, man. So that was just kind of my personality growing up. Played a couple sports, soccer and stuff, but never really did anything crazy with it, and just like kind of found my way. I mean, I started working, every job under the sun you could think of since I was a junior, because I remember sitting down with my parents and being like, all right, like I'm getting my license, like how much you guys got saved for my car? And they start cracking up, man. They're like, if you want a car, you're gonna work for it, And I was like, got a job my junior year, man.
I feel that. Man. Any siblings?
One younger sister.
Okay.
7 years younger.
Okay. Nice.
Light of my world. Love that girl.
Yeah, for sure.
Man.
We love to hear that, right? And one of the big things, like he previously stated, is that 26 to 30 range we start to find ourselves, right? And from what we noticed, you found what your gift is, right? You found what the thing that is important to us, important to you. So tell people about like how you found that and how you've made that a part of your being and how you've grown that.
Yeah, so I guess it's just kind of media and content world has just kind of been around. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, like just, when the flip phones came out, but they had like the cameras for the first time. I remember making little dumb videos like with me and my friends, like just prank videos, this and that. And then crazy enough, my mom was a professional photographer while I was growing up.
Okay.
And
it's in his genes.
Yeah.
You know what? And hold that thought, right? You know what's interesting? And I said this before. It's amazing, right? A lot of the gifts that we realize we have, our parents had the same gifts. You know what I mean? I feel like it's almost God's way of helping build a community. And what better way to pass on the gifts than through your parents? You know what I mean? So a lot of times I'm noticing too, because we're at that age now, it's like, your parents are your parents, but you're also seeing the flaws in your parents. You're seeing what they're good at. You're seeing them kind of like for a person now. You're like, wait a minute, I don't really agree with what you just said. You know what I mean? So I think it's a nice coming of age, and I don't mean to cut you off, but I think that was a huge gem, right? Your mom was a photographer. You're now in media and killing it in media now and content creation. So a lot of times, if you are trying to find your gift, for the people that are trying to find their purpose and find what they're good at, start noticing. You said you're doing prank videos and just making fun things. Yeah. Start taking an inventory of what you do for fun, you know, what you like to do in your free time, and also take an inventory of what are the gifts of my parents or my grandparents or people in my family. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
All right, keep going.
Absolutely. Well, I'll add to that the fact that media, whether I was getting paid to do it or not, I've always done as a hobby. I've always had it. If I was getting paid to do it, I was doing it, right? But if I wasn't, I was personal branding myself and doing it, or even just making fun videos of me and my buddies snowboarding. Like that's actually how I took a step into it. But I mean, I was a little backpack mule for my mom, carrying around the lenses, setting up the backdrops, and I really didn't like it back then. I mean, I was a young kid, and you know, looking at her doing banquets and weddings and maternity shoots, I'm like, I don't want this. She always used to try and be like, oh, you should do this, I can teach you, and I was like, nah, you know, like but it wasn't until, I mean, I took video production in high school, didn't really take it too seriously, but it was always something that was kind of around, you know, and I was just naturally like, I was good at it, and then so it wasn't until, I don't know, I was probably about 19 years old, 20 years old, and I started I got a GoPro, and I literally bought this thing on credit. Like I was just like, I just wanted a GoPro so bad. Me and my buddies had just started snowboarding, and at the time I was working for a construction they remodeled like pools, so I was doing like hard labor, man, like, you know, taking debris, taking in dump trucks, like everything, right? And I made this video of me and my buddy snowboarding, because I got back with all this content, and I was like, man, I want to put it together, like, and I taught myself iMovie, and I was like just going on iMovie and making something, and I posted it on YouTube, and the owner of the company actually ended up seeing it and hitting me up, and he's like, hey, like, do you think you can do this for some of our houses?
Wow.
And I'm like, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
You know,
you're absolutely right, for a small fee.
I was like, yeah. At that time, I think he offered me like $100 to do it, and I was like, wait, you're willing to pay me to do this, you know? And so I was like, yeah, I'll do it. And I made one or two, and then after that, they contracted me for 13 more. And I was like, I'm making more money making videos for you guys than working for you. The hard labor. I'm like, this is easy. I'll go around a GoPro all day.
Wow.
And
okay.
that's kind of what shot me into the media space, and I took my first full leap into starting my first company.
You know what I want to touch on, man? Some people don't believe that you're going to operate in your gift and get compensated for it. I don't know not one person that is fully immersed in their gift and what they believe that they're supposed to do that isn't getting compensated for it. That isn't making money. That isn't making connections. That isn't making friends. That isn't even bringing the joy to themselves, right? He said he started with a small GoPro, right? You know what I'm saying? A small GoPro.
On credit.
On credit. And made a snowboarding video, and now it has excelled him to different levels that maybe you probably didn't believe was possible at that point.
I didn't even know it was.
Right?
I didn't know they existed.
It takes that small step. A lot of people don't understand. They want to just jump from the bottom to the top immediately. It takes that small step that is going to show you where you're supposed to be, show you what you're supposed to do, right? And it's going to work for you, yo. You just got to believe, right? He believed in himself. He started with that, and it was his hobby, and now it's his profession.
Right. No, that's huge. That's huge. I think you mentioned on earlier when we were speaking about different things that you did, different jobs, getting a job in high school and always working, right? So what are some things that you kind of tried and failed at, or just experience leading up to your journey before, doing media full time?
How much time do we got, man? I went through about 12 different jobs. I pretty much got fired from every single one of them except one. And not because I sucked at working. I always had a great work ethic, but I just got uninspired by just seeing the people that were there the longest. I always paid attention to the people that were there the longest. I mean, I worked in warehouses. I worked at UPS. I worked for print shops. I was delivering flowers. I was doing all these little odd jobs under the sun. And my dad was always that guy, like, go get a good job, get benefits, stay there, like, so it was just really, I was just kind of following what they knew, and so, it was going around from all those different odd jobs and, you know, just getting kicked in the face time after time of just finding myself uninspired. Like this, there's gotta be more to life.
It's gotta be more to life,
you know? And I didn't know how or where or what, but you know, I just kind of kept going. And, the first thing that actually kind of pivoted my thinking was, I was about 2 weeks from going to college, and I was out of high school for almost a year, and I was just gonna go to college just because I didn't know what else to do. And I was 2 weeks away from moving up north to Monterey. I was in Inland Empire at the time, and so that was gonna be like 6 hours north. Me and my buddy had a place for the summer, and I was just gonna go and do like, I was into music as well. So I was looking into this college for music production, and I was also looking into it for just EMT, like for fire, becoming a firefighter. And, you know, it was two things that I wasn't really, you know, trying to chase. I was just doing it because I didn't have anything else to do. And I had met, by just chance, the owner of an exotic car dealership.
Wow.
We saw this guy driving up in a Ferrari, and it was a house right by kind of like some friends where we used to hang out. And this house always had different cars in the driveway, like a bunch of different exotic cars. And we're like, one day we like walked out to him. We're like, hey man, like, do you mind if we take a picture of the car? And he's like, yeah, go for it. And we were like, you know, like, how many cars do you have? Like, we always see different cars. And he was like, a little less than 300.
Oh, slight flex. Just 300.
A little under 300.
And then he mentioned the name of the dealership. He's like, have you ever heard of it? And I was like, I think I have. He's like, well, I'm the owner.
Oh,
and
wow.
Kid you not, after that, we were like, well, do you need any help? Like, I would love to help.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, sure. Come by, you know, drop by tomorrow. Come pick up an application, and, you know, we'll see if we can help you out. And I kid you not, man, for 3 months, this was like the first lesson of persistence that I ever got. For 3 months straight, like every single week on the dot, I would call, and they'd be like, no, nothing yet. Call next week, you know, like nothing yet. And then all my friends are like, bro, stop calling that place. Like, they're not going to hire you. Like, they're just stringing you along. 2 weeks right before me and my best friend moved to Monterey to go to college, they hire both of us.
Wow.
They bring in us, hire both of us, and we're 18 at the time. And now all of a sudden we get to go around, not only like drive these exotic cars, but meet all the people. Like, we were around Angels players, Ducks players that we used to deliver to all the time. And so I took up that opportunity, and I would always ask questions. Like, I'd be like, oh, what does this guy do? What do you do? Like, you know, or I'd ask him questions about me. Like, I have this business idea or things like that. And, you know, it was just, it opened my eyes, because at first I thought, oh, there's going to be like doctors and lawyers that are all coming in buying cars, right? It was like, I own this company, or I own this company.
Wow.
Like, it was some dude that came in on a weekend because he was bored with his wife at home, and leaves fully,
What a life.
fully
What a
cash
life.
paid $400,000 Ferrari, walks out of there because he was bored at home.
What a life.
And I asked this guy what he does. He's like, oh, I own a warehouse that manufactures nail polish remover. And my head was just like, bro, there's endless ways to make money in this world.
Wow.
And that's really what, you know, started to expand my mindset and my understanding. And, you know, it started leading on. I tried, you know, starting a clothing brand. I started building like little online businesses, like here and there. And, you know, it just kind of got me into the world of media and started sparking that entrepreneur wheel in me. So that's really where like it really started there.
There's two keys I want to touch in that he said, right? Nail polish remover. Warehouses for production of nail polish remover.
Yeah.
And he cashed out $400,000 on a brand new Ferrari. If you think that the things you're doing can't make money, talk to that man who got that nail polish remover production company, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just different things that you don't think can make you money, right? You just have to commit to it. You have to start going somewhere, right? You have to do that. And then one of the biggest things that he said is questions.
Curiosity, baby.
The more you know, the more you realize you don't know anything.
Yep.
Right.
It makes you hungrier for more information.
Right.
If you get in these spaces, you get around these people, don't stand in the corner, be shy, be on your phone, be in the background. Ask questions about the people that you're inspiring to be, the people that you watch on TV, the people that you talk about, all these different things. Ask them how they got there.
Right.
Ask them what they did, what they didn't do, what they succeeded at, what they failed at. These questions are going to be the framework for building who you are.
Yep.
Questions are probably the most important thing that you can have in your bag when you go to see somebody.
Absolutely, man. I mean, yeah. So you touched on curiosity, asking questions, right? I'll touch on the persistence. He was saying, hey, man, like every week I was calling them on the dot, like clockwork. I'm calling, right? That's going to stick out to people. That persistence. Everybody doesn't have that. You know what I mean? We live in a microwave society, right? Where we want it right now. And if it doesn't come right now, then it must not have been for me.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So persistence was that one. Curiosity, Keith mentioned. And the next one is exposure. You have to get in environments of people that are actually doing the things that you aspire to do. You know what I mean? So exposure is huge. You have to have, it changes your belief of what's possible based on what you see. If you've never seen it before, you know, a lot of the time our imagination comes from what we've seen. Right. Yeah. So it's hard to dream and it's hard to imagine something greater if you've never seen it before. So persistence, curiosity, exposure. And then Keith mentioned another one, nail polish remover. Right. I'll give you an example. I was listening to, I forget who it is. I listen to a lot of different things. Right. And they were talking about the gold rush. Right. And the people that made the most money during the gold rush from everybody back in the day were moving to California to dig and farm for gold. Right. But it was the people that sold the shovels. Right, that made the most money.
Smart.
Right, so it's like, okay, I don't necessarily have to own a nail salon, or I don't necessarily have to own a nail polish. Right, I don't have to be in the big huge business. Right, I just have to figure out what's popping, and serve the shovels. Right, sell the shovels for whatever that business is. So the nail polish remover are synonymous to the shovels for the gold rush. Right, which is huge. Right. Okay. So noticing, you know, your journey, your platform, and everything you've accomplished. Also notice that you partake in mentorship. So you mentioned Ed Milet, which is huge. I listen to a lot of his stuff. I actually am reading his book, The Power of One More.
Love it.
You know, that's a great book.
Such a good one.
You know what I mean? You're now working with Jeff Finster at Everbowl. Right. And also David Metzler. Right. So talk about the power of mentorship and, you know, what you've learned from those guys and how they've helped you.
Man, I can't attribute enough to mentorship, honestly. Like, it's been those people that have been brought into my lives that, you know, just by opportunity and chance that, you know, I just was a sponge around. And these guys
Be a sponge.
Yeah, man. I mean, and it really, like, you know, they all have their different things that they taught me. Like David Meltzer taught me about a lot about ego, and he's the first guy that once I got working with him, he's the first one that made me really question, like, do I even have what it takes? I remember the first meeting I went in there, I was sitting down with their head of media and COO, you know, to have for them bringing me on, and I saw David got in and out of like 3 meetings, a podcast interview, like literally while I'm in this one meeting. And this guy was just running circles, man. He's 52 every day on the dot, 4 a.m. meditating, like reading, working out, like every single day. And he was running circles around me. I'm like, he made me question. I'm like, dude, do I even have what it takes?
Right.
So he inspired me to really level up. And I mean, I was just calling him earlier today. He's become a relationship in my life that when shit hits the fan and I feel like everything's falling down, like I call him. He's my guy. And you know, that kind of relationship I would have never expected that.
I also saw you mention radical humility with Dave, right? So talk about that a little bit. What does radical humility mean?
Radical humility is huge. It's kind of like what you guys said, but it's just knowing enough to know you don't know anything. Radical humility, he has it on his nightstand, and it says it every single day just to remind him that, you know, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. And there's always something you can learn from anyone and everyone. It's always just keeping that student mindset, because the second you start falling out of that and you stop trying to be a student, you stop learning, you're closing off. I mean, you think you're good enough and you stop growing, you know? So there's always that next level, even for all of these guys, like, you know, it's anyone could give him feedback and he will take it in, actually process it and say, okay, is there something here that I can learn or better from because of it, you know? And same thing, Ed is huge with all that stuff too. Ed is really good on the identity side. With him, it was just like, that guy is just so present and with you, and he's good at human nature and making you feel seen. And, you know, with leadership, huge thing too. They're all amazing leaders, but, you know, it's just that radical humility piece is absolutely huge.
Yeah.
It's crazy how you touched on that topic. So recently we did a podcast that alluded to leadership and listening to the people that are around you, right? So I'm gonna hit y'all with this quote: "A leader who does not listen will soon find himself surrounded by people that have nothing to say. A leader who does not listen will soon find himself surrounded by people that have nothing to say.
Dude, you could end it right there. Damn.
Mic drop.
You get the most important information by the people that are surrounding you. That's why they're around you, right? That's why you're in these spaces, right? That's how you soak in this information. It's like, yo, they may have a great idea, right? And it may be outside of the scheme of what you believe in, but there's some type of knowledge you can get out of it. It may be something to do right, or it may be something that they did wrong. You can always learn something from the people that are surrounding you, right? Yep. And that's how you build a better team, is people bringing all these great ideas like, I'm going to add you to the team. I'm going to have you on this team. This is how we're going to do it. Somebody's better at this than you are. Somebody's better at that than you are. And that's how you get in that team. And that's how you lead. And that's how you become a better leader, right? It's taking all that information in.
Right.
That's really big. That's really important, right? Listen to the people that are surrounding you.
Absolutely.
100%.
You have to. You know what I mean? You have the hashtag, man, make your own luck, right? So what did that come from, and what does that mean by making your own luck?
I love it. I love the question, man. I actually have it tattooed on my forearm as well. It's something that I learned. The reason why I got connected with David Meltzer is while I started that business, when I jumped fully into media for the first time, I had months where I would go 30 days. It'd be like I'm filming and editing almost every day, and then next month, dry. And it was just inconsistent, ups and downs and ups and downs. And with income and everything, I was just like, dude, what is going on? It was my first taste of real entrepreneurship. And I'm like, I got to fix this, you know?
Right.
So for me, I was like, okay, I got to constantly build a pipeline, and I got to get smart about who I'm trying to work with.
Right.
So I made a non-negotiable that I had to DM 30 people a day, new people a day.
Okay.
New people a day, every day that I either wanted to work for or learn from, right? I wanted to work with them or learn from them. And I did like 8 months of that, like thousands and thousands of DMs, dude. Like every single day I was just sending them new people, blue checks, like everybody you could think of. And David Meltzer was one of them.
Wow.
And he responded and was like, hey, we're actually adding people to our team. Would you like to meet? And I'm like, sure, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know, sent them some of my work and went in down and met them. And, you know, people would always be like, they'd see me meeting all these new people or athletes or whatever I was able to do because of it. And, you know, then it looked like I was so lucky. And people were like, oh, man, you're so lucky. You got to do this. Like, you got to, you know, do this as a passion. Like, dude, you're so lucky.
You're so lucky.
They don't even understand.
I'm like, bro, if you would have seen how many people didn't respond to my DMs, you would think I was unlucky, man. Like, you know, and it was just, it made me realize, like, you know, I was able to create my own luck through that. You know, it was creating the opportunity. You know, if you only put one rod in the water when you're fishing versus 50 rods in the water, now you're making your own luck. You know, you have a higher chance of catching something.
Absolutely.
So that's really where that came about. And I've just always just had that same perspective going into anything else I knew. Is just at 10x the effort in, and you might increase your chances to get 10x the results. Like,
man,
you know,
that's huge, man. Jay-Z, one of my favorite artists, right? Who I think is one of the greatest of all time.
Absolutely.
But that's a topic for another time, right? He has in his documentary, right, Fade to Black. It's a old documentary, right, about, you know, kind of like an inside look at how he creates an album. You know, it was going to be his last album, right? His last hurrah, right? But that was years ago, and here we are. He's the greatest ever. But anyway, the quote is, Jay-Z says in the opening scene to the documentary, he's like, people say I'm the luckiest man on the planet. I like to say I stay ready. A wise man once told me luck is a submystical energy that dances around the universe, randomly bestowing people with satisfaction and joy. Then create your own luck. So when I saw that, I thought of that quote, right? Creating your own luck. Create the opportunities.
Yeah.
Like, everything is not going to be there. Everything's not going to say, hey, I'm an opportunity. Come here, click here. This is an opportunity, right? Like, you have to be intentional and persistent, right, on what you want to do in life and go after it. And then the opportunities are going to come. You know what I mean? Like, God, he's waiting on you. God's been ready. You know what I mean? Like, you have to give God something to bless, right? Like, you can't sit on the couch just chilling, watching Netflix, eating potato chips and be like, man, I want to lose weight. God, help me lose weight. You know what I mean? When in reality, you have to go to the gym every day and change your diet. And then God's okay, I'll give you a super with your natural. You know what I mean? So I love that quote, man. Make your own luck. Create your own luck. That's huge.
What's the thing from the Bible? 3,000 songs, 1,000 proverbs, right?
Facts.
Put in that work, man.
Facts. You have to.
It's crazy that everybody was like, yo, you're so lucky, man. You're so lucky. They didn't send the thousands and thousands of DMs that you sent to get one person to respond.
Yeah.
It changed your life.
It takes that, man. It takes that.
It takes that. So
you gotta be the squeaky wheel.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yes, it does.
You have to be the squeaky wheel.
Yeah, man.
Real quick, so I saw also on some of your videos the Milliard Group.
Yeah.
What is that? Plug that. What is that?
Yeah, so that was Ed's new. So Ed originally is from the insurance industry, and that's where he made amassed most of his wealth. And he was basically retired for some years.
Okay.
And this is while I was working for Dave. Ed had came out of his retirement. He actually had to break a $500 million contract to come back out and start a brand new team. But I mean, he wasn't the Ed Milet he is today when he first started, you know? So this time around, he had 7-8-figure entrepreneurs, CEOs, Fortune 500 CEOs that he was bringing in to start this brand new team from the ground up.
Gotcha.
So from my perspective, I saw it as an opportunity to get around a team there. And at the time, with David, I was going through a big shift in habits and just beliefs and everything, because from, I don't know, maybe my senior year and on to like 4 years later, like I was lost. I honestly, I was going down the route of just partying and girls and just not really just, I wasn't happy with where I was at. I always expected myself to be further and further, and I would beat up on myself because of it, man. So I always tell people I never went to college, but I partied like I did. But it just took me down a route that was just not healthy for me, and it was just years of the drinking and everything and all the bad habits. And so when I got with Dave, and he completely just opened my eyes. And going into 2020 when COVID started happening, I remember going into it, I was like, I just made the commitment to myself. I'm like, I'm gonna come out of this better than I've ever been. I'm just gonna make this the shift. And that year I ended up meditating over 100 hours. I ran over 200 miles. I documented myself. I hated being on camera, so I documented myself every single day, every single day, no matter what. I read like 13 books when I had never read a book cover to cover until David Meltzer's book, because I was the SparkNote kids in high school. I just didn't really care. And then that year I got crazy heavy into reading and journaling, and I just invested every bit of myself into me that year. And that's where that shift started to happen. And so once that started happening, my confidence started building up, and I was so inspired. I was like, bro, I want to build something. Right. And so when I saw that opportunity with Ed, I came to David, and I called him right away, and I was like, if I ever even think about transitioning, when should I tell you? And he's like, as soon as it happens, or as soon as you get the idea. And I was like, well, you got a minute?
I'm ready to go right now.
He's like, hold on, let me put my AirPods in. But he was, he was such a good mentor, man. He helped me transition out. He got me connected with the team and everything on Ed's side. And the Miliari group was the team, the name of the team, and Miliari means milestone. So it was like his way of coming back and making a milestone. And so when I got into the insurance industry, it was completely different. I went from media to sales, and it was just sales and leadership. And dude, I was like a fish trying to climb a tree. I was telling you guys earlier, it just was not natural to me, man. But it taught me so much, not only in human nature, built my character like crazy, gave me new opportunities, and just taught me a whole new world. But that's how the Miliari group kind of came to be.
Yeah.
Hey, I hope y'all listen to the things that be said around this table right here. I think sometimes people they look for the big ticket items and forget to find the small gems, right? He said, I committed to myself, and then my confidence grew. Committing to yourself is probably the greatest thing that you could ever do, right? Because you only get one of you. You only get one chance at life. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know what I'm saying? Unless you go to jail, get out, whatever. But you really only get one chance at life, right? You can make mistakes, right? But you have to commit to the most important thing is yourself. And that's how you build that confidence. That's how you build those connections. That's how you build those growth. And committing to himself has changed his life dramatically.
You know what's interesting, right?
Drastically.
Dramatically.
I got you.
It's all good.
We got you. You know?
Oh man, what's interesting, right, is that no matter what industry, you know what I mean, no matter what you want to do, I don't care if it's to become a pastor, become a pro athlete, scientist, you know what I mean, real estate mogul, have a media empire. The things that make you successful are consistent across the board, right? They are industry lists, if that's the word, right? Like these principles to life, right? You mentioned Dave working out, getting up early in the morning and working out and having a routine and schedule. You mentioned when you changed your life, you had a schedule. You were running, you were working out. So you had the physical aspect, you had the mental, you were meditating, right? You read 13 books, right? Like nothing changes if nothing changes.
Facts.
I'll say that again. Nothing changes if nothing changes, right? So if you want a better reality, then you have to change your reality. Create your own look. Make your own look.
Make it.
You know what I mean? Like every person who has, even comedians, even you take somebody like Drewski on the internet, right? Or DC Young Fly, right? I don't care how silly a person may act on the internet, they still have had a phase in their life where they had to dig deep, go within themselves, and be committed to themselves and invest in themselves. If you talk to anybody that's successful, there's a point in their life where they're like, that was when the shift happened.
Yep.
And this is what I did, XYZ, ABC, 1, 2, 3, right? Of steps that I took to change my life and create my own luck, right? So I think that's huge. And like Keith said, a lot of times we look for these big ticket items or these big things that make me go like, oh my gosh, right? But it's those small things like that you really have to take heed to if you really want to change your life, right? Especially in the atmosphere of the new year that we're in right now, right?
Facts.
If I could say the thing that I've learned as far as like just being around these kinds of people and seeing, I've been in the podcast world for many years too. I've probably sat in on 500 to 1,000 podcasts. Like it always comes down to the soft skills. Like it's the same exact thing. Like it's persistence, consistency, you know, like it's the tenacity, the grit, you know, just getting up earlier, working harder. Like it's all the soft skills that everyone tends to overlook. They're looking at, hey, what is that one digital media skill I need to be able to make money online? What is that, you know, one little tool I need for my sales to go up, you know, to double. And it's always the soft skills that take people the furthest. It's a repeat. If you listen to every single podcast, those are the formula of success that's universal.
Absolutely.
So I agree.
Little things make the big picture.
Yep.
It takes 100 strokes to color in all the lines, right?
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't drug that pencil across that paper 500 times, right? So that you could see the big picture. It's the little things.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's the little things. It's the little things. Absolutely. So faith, right? We kind of talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Your faith, man. Talk a little bit about your faith and how that has contributed to where you are.
Yeah. So faith was a very new thing for me. Growing up, I was kind of around it quite a bit. I mean, my dad was almost a priest before he met my mom growing up, very young in the LA dynasty. So he was one of the youngest speakers. And growing up, we were kind of the family that would eventually started getting to the point where you know, we would go on the holidays on Christmas, and it was kind of like, it always seemed like a chore growing up for me, you know. It was
I'm sorry. That's exactly how it felt to me. Yeah, I felt that one. I felt that one in my soul.
For sure. But that's how it felt. It was always a chore growing up. It was something that I had to do, not something I wanted to do. And it wasn't until I got into the insurance space and I actually faced hard struggle. Like this was like I said, I mean, everything else came a bit easier. It was not easy by any means, even in the media, but this was harder. You know, this was the hardest thing I've had to deal with. And I put my heart and soul, like every ounce of me into it. And yet I was still not getting the results I wanted. And so at that certain point, I was like, what else can I do? And, you know, at the time, my family was struggling a lot at the time financially and just like going through mental things, different breakups, like my family splitting up, like it was just a lot going on at the time. And I felt helpless. You know, I felt like, you know, I wanted to be the protector. I want to take care of them. Let me make a ton of money. I can retire you guys, you know. but I couldn't make anything happen. And it got to the point where, thank God for one of my best friends. His name's Jacob Valdelon, and he was in my ear whispering the whole time, like, hey, Brad, man, just come to church with me, or you know what, let's just read this. And like, he would send me little verses here and there, and like, he was always kind of like, and I was always, nah, man, like, nah. It always made me really uncomfortable. I was like, dude, I don't need that, But the fall is where I started to realize that he's gonna catch me, and I think I had to go through a heavy fall in order to realize that I'm okay. And I've told this before too, but even on one of I'd say the darkest times where I had half my team, I had an organization about 30 people, and half a team in a single day quit. Our income got cut in half instantly, and we couldn't even pay rent. I had to move back home. I had a girlfriend at the time that we broke up, and it was just like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And it was literally like, I kid you not, like, girlfriend broke up, I walk inside, go upstairs, I get the phone call, I have to tweet and quit. Like, it was just back to back to back to back. And it was just to a point where I was just like, okay, like, what? That's full surrender. It was the first time in my life where I was like, you know what? You show me what to do. Like, you tell me what you want me to do. And I got deep into the Bible, and I got deep into my faith, and just really just praying, and it opened up a whole new side and a whole new world where it was just a full surrender. And I started learning so much of the principles in the Bible, and all these different books in the Bible, and I just like, at the time, that meme, I forget, where he has like all the numbers and everything. Dude, that's how I felt with Bible verses. I was like, I was like, the world was getting unlocked for a second, man. I was like, oh my gosh. But dude, I found so much comfort. Like, in my lowest times, I had never felt closer to God. In my lowest, darkest time, I had never felt closer. And that's when I really, really felt, the renewing of the heart. And it talks about it in the Bible a lot, just that renewing of the heart and soul, where I was just, it was a hardened heart. I grew up in a very traumatic household. I had parents, my mom had a lot of anger problems growing up. And, my dad was always working the 80, 100-hour weeks as a truck driver. And they struggled a lot. And it was just, I went through very hard times growing up. It was a lot of traumatic events. And through that, I always had this, like, this disconnect from things. We moved like 30 times as a kid, so I lost friends, I lost pets, and like, you name it. Like, it was just like, everything that I loved always got eventually yanked away. And I started to have that like hardened heart. And so I didn't let myself feel a lot of things, and it wasn't until I got sent back home. And you know how moms are, like, I went back home with my mom, and she's just into like her intuition. I walk in, and she's like, oh, you got to let yourself feel. And I'm like, what is she talking about?
Hey, moms be knowing.
They always know. Mother always knows.
She's like, you got to let yourself feel, son. And I'm like, well, I don't even know what you're talking about. But anything emotional, anything that brought up my past, I would always like veer away from. Like, no, like, no, like, I'm not gonna touch that. I'm gonna like, it was just very uncomfortable for me, and I would just act like it didn't bother me. But it was a bunch of unprocessed trauma that I had to eventually process to be able to let go. And my faith is really what renewed that, allowed me to get really comfortable and find that peace. To open up and feel the tough feelings, process them and be okay with it, and to have the faith that it's for something better, And my lead always says that he's like, life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you.
Absolutely.
So everything from my past, my childhood, all the way up to every single failure you can think of has all shaped me,
right,
and pushed me into directions to be where I need to be, where his plan is for me, not mine. And so
tell me about it. Preach.
So that was really the spark of my faith journey, was me having to fail so hard that I had no choice but to lean on him.
Hey, some things I want to touch on that, so y'all don't miss, because I ain't gonna let y'all miss, because I don't be missing. Like, one thing a precursor to that, bro, I learned so much on this. Like, a lot of things that people say that I didn't even think that would be said, it even makes me look on the inside and be like, yo, like, I've dealt with some of those same things, right? One of the big things that he said was, to deal with certain things, you got to face it. You got to acknowledge that they're there. You can't just, like you said, be like, nah, I'm not going to touch that. Nah, I'm not going to do that, because no matter what, it's going to rear its ugly head every single time it gets the chance. If you are not willing to face it and overcome it, right? That's how you get stronger. That's how you get better, right? And then another thing that he said, right, getting closer to God and being able to do these certain things, right? You can do some things alone. You can do a lot with friends, but you can do everything through God.
I love that.
understand that, like the things that are missing in your life, the things that your friends, your family, your significant other are not able to provide you with, the certain things that you feel are impossible, you can do every single thing that you've ever imagined through God, and understand that he will never abandon you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Whatever you're dealing with, it's the answer. You know what I mean? Like whatever, like the Bible has answers and principles of life. So we talked about mentorship, right? And the same thing with the Bible. I feel like a lot of times people say, why am I in this situation? Or I had to go through this, or I had to bump my head, right? And I think mentorship, right, and especially through the Bible and your faith, God teaches you principles and lessons through the Bible so you won't have to go through certain things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I feel like it's a cheat code to life. You know what I mean? And not just, I'm such a great person because I read the Bible.
Right.
But these are actually life hacks, right, to make your life better, right, to feeling fulfilled, to not feeling lonely, to having confidence, to feeling worthy, to even getting in your creative space and then making money from it, right? Like you can't help people if you don't have the resources or the money to be able to do that, right? Like it's not deep, you know what I mean? Like let's not make this real deep, okay? Even in the Bible, right? Like it's talking about who is a neighbor? Who is your neighbor, right? And they were talking about a certain Samaritan, right? Well, the Samaritan that helped the guy that was laid out in the street, he paid for his hotel. He paid for his food. He paid for his water, right? He paid for his bandages and health care and whatever he needed to help him off, right? And he also had, horses and means of transportation to get them from where they were to the hotel, right? So those are the things that we don't speak about, right? So all of that, right, encompassing, it just shows you how beneficial it is to read the Bible. And if you want to elevate your life, you have to have that faith aspect of it as well.
And I'll say this, out of all those, incredible mentors that we mentioned prior, Jesus has been the number one.
The number one
mentor.
Hands down.
The number one mentor.
Hands down.
Yeah, man.
Hands down. Okay, man. So we're building a media empire, man, and becoming, one of the leading people in that space. Let's give the people, in the age of content creation, give the people some tips or hacks or strategies that they can do to, elevate their content game.
Do more of it.
Okay.
I mean,
okay.
Honestly,
another one.
Honestly, the content game is the same thing as the soft skills I mentioned. Like, look at Hermosi. Alex Hermosi blew up on social media. People look at it like he did it overnight, but he's been doing this stuff for years. But he posts over 240 pieces of content a week, man.
Wow.
Like, when you look at that, same thing.
Yeah, put it in perspective for us.
240? Dang, we need to get them numbers up. Those are rookie numbers.
Right.
Oh, it's true, man. It's the same thing as putting more rods in the water. He's putting more pieces of content out there than anybody else. He's finding different ways to do it. He made a content machine. Like, right now, it's just people overlook, like, it doesn't have to be as produced. Like, you guys have a beautiful studio we're getting operated out of. The content looks great, But at the end of the day, dude, turn on your selfie camera and put it on. Like, pull out on your phone, you have one of the best cameras in the world in your pocket right now.
Right.
And you could just turn it on, and organic videos do better anyways. Like, it's crazy if you think about it. So I think it just really depends on, it's just what you're trying to accomplish. But at the end of the day, it's so easy to just put more out there. That's the number one. When I sat down with Jeff and I pitched him on his brand, I'm like, hey, we can't control algorithms, right? We can't control, what happens, what social medias. Instagram could get shut down tomorrow. So I was like, let's focus on what we can control, right? Let's focus on how much can we put out, right? What can we do? How much value can we add to people, right? Just putting in everything in perspective, what's in our control, right? Because, when people look at it, they try to have the most polished content, or they have, nowadays it's all the animations and all this. And even with Jeff, I mean, there's a handful of videos that have popped off over 1 million views, right? They all are always the ones that are the most simple. Like, we have these like super highly polished edited ones, don't do anything, right? But the one that just has captions and black and white video, 2.5 million views. You're like, it's just, I was literally going back through it today, all through our analytics. We're planning for 24, and I was just looking back through all the data. So I literally saw that stuff today of like, it was like the most underproduced content always did the best, And besides that, it's just kind of finding your North Star. why are you posting? You know, that's where I always start, because some people, they're like, you know, I want to post, you know, they think I want to start a podcast. And I mean, it's the same thing in anything. It's like, why are you going to do it? Well, because I want to have a podcast. And it's like, well, that's cool. Or I want to build a personal brand, and, you know, it's going to funnel to this and this and that. And it's like, but why do you want to have that platform? Because if not, you're going to start it, stop it, and you're never going to do it again. You know, people, the amount of podcasts, there's over 1 million podcasts out there. There's only about 15 to 20% of them that have over 10 episodes. Very few. Okay. Very few.
Yeah. We in that 15 and 20%, baby.
There you go. There you go.
Right.
But I mean, just off the bat, that's the first stuff I would say for sure.
So with all that saying, giving tips, what do you think are the most consistent things that people do wrong when it comes to being in the media industry?
I think things people do wrong, you know, for the most part, it really is just people being afraid to post. I mean, like for most people, like if you're posting content, you're out there, you're probably getting some eyeballs, you know? So there's two parts of it, where the people that are afraid to post, and then the other people who don't think they quit too early because they don't think it's working. They're like, I posted 20 videos already, and it's still, my highest one is at 300 views. Right? I was posting for years on my content, on my page, when I had my own podcast still. And it was like, it was one piece of content. It was like my 200th post, and it was one of them that popped off over 1 million. It was the first time I went like viral, and I was just getting DMs and followers just going through the roof out of nowhere. It's like, you never know. It's that next door, you know? It's kind of like in sales too. It's like, you get a no. You're chasing that yes down. You know, you're like, if you were 25, you know, no's away from your dream yes, you'd be excited to go through that. Exactly. If it was the same thing with content, if you were like, hey man, I'm 25 posts away from popping off, like you would chase to get to that number 25. At 24, you're like, all right, I posted 3 minutes ago. Can I do it? You know,
25 in a day. Post tomorrow.
Right. I think that just the turnaround. You know, a lot of people don't think they can turn around as quick as they can, you know. Like when I go to events with Jeff and we do this, like I'm uploading photos literally as he's stepping off stage so I can post, you know. I have the stories going up on posts. It's very relevant, you know. On the plane ride back, I'm already editing the piece of content to get it out, because I post that right away when we get back, and people are like, oh, I loved your speech, I did this, that, and then they have a reason to you know, comment on it and react with it and engage with it, because it's very relevant too. So a lot of people, you got to, that opportunity of that window of opportunity there, you got to really, you know, take on it, that relevant part of it. Like that's one of the biggest parts, because you post it 2 to 3 months later, right? Nobody's thinking about that same event, you know.
That's big. Like, that's big.
Yeah, I think that's huge. I think, and everything that you said, we're going through right now as well. You know what I mean? We kind of had the phase where we were afraid to post. And then we are now kind of in the phase where like we're posting, but like we think we should have more engagement. You know what I mean? And now like, so everything you're saying, man, is right on time and is relevant for us. So increasing our, you know, amount of content, and also the relevancy of our content as well, is also what we're working on right now, man. Any last minute things that you want to plug, or any big things coming in the year 2024 that you want the people to know about?
Yeah, well, we're really excited. I've been working with Jeff since the beginning of this year, and branding right now, and Everbowl and all of his other companies. And I mean, his organic content has just gone through the roof. Like I said, I was looking at all the analytics today and just seeing, like, organically, even last month, we did about 1.8 million on our reach on just his Instagram alone. Altogether, it's probably closer to about 5 million a month.
Wow.
And, you know, this guy had, you know, 20,000 followers at the beginning of the year, 25,000 followers, and now he just crossed over 100K. And
wow,
I didn't do anything special. Like we just posted every single day. We didn't miss a day. Every single day we posted. And so right now we're excited to really get to the point where now I'm building out a lot of the distribution side of it, where we partnered on our podcast this year that just hit top 20 in all top shows. So we're partnered with Entrepreneur on that, and you know, we're probably by the end of this year or next year this time, we're throwing our first mastermind event.
Oh, nice.
And we should be releasing coaching throughout the new year. And so it's just, I mean, really cool things that I'm just grateful to be a part of.
Yeah.
I get to learn, I get to travel just around with him. And, you know, it's just continuing to grow and sharpen my skills and develop. And, you know, right now going into 24, I always, at the end of every year since I've met David, I've been super intentional. I spend a day, probably 3 hours. Like today, I spent, I got to the office at like 9 a.m. today. Today's Saturday, right?
Today's Saturday. You know what I mean?
Working on the weekend.
Yeah.
Right.
I was the only one in the office. Stayed there till about a little bit after 5. I went home, changed real quick, drove straight here to meet up with you guys. And I mean, I would not spend my Saturday any other way. Like this is the stuff I love.
Absolutely.
You know, and so, you know, just get really clear on what you want to do next year. You know, too many people, you know, don't take the time to stop and say intentionally, like, what do I actually want going into the next year? What are my goals for Q1 and what are my overarching goals for the year? Like, what am I looking to accomplish? And from there, just take the baby steps, backtrack it. You know, if you want to lose a ton of weight, well, what can you do every day for 15 minutes that might help you lose weight? Or you want to make more strides in business? Like, what's that little habit? Because at the end of the day, it breaks down to a habit. Like, what habit do you need to create going into this next year that's going to help you to be able to get all the results you actually want?
What habit do you need to create?
Make it a part of your being and your DNA.
Yep. That's heavy. Like, everybody has a New Year's resolution. It doesn't matter what it is, right? What can you make a habit? Because that's what's going to change your life.
Commit to it.
Yep.
Hey, man, it was great having you, man. You dropped a lot of gems for myself.
Exactly.
I know I learned a lot. Sitting here listening to you. Definitely very inspirational. Also inspirational to see someone in, you know, our age bracket doing what you're doing and betting on yourself and your dreams and believing in God. So, you know, definitely want to give you a round of applause.
For sure.
And keep
Thank
going.
you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you guys.
and proud of you too, man. And you know, this will be like, it'll be interesting to see, like, you know, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, like where we all are in our journey, and we'll have this to look back on and be like, man, look at us.
Absolutely.
Right,
and
right.
I gotta say, man, I just met you guys today through this guy Charles, which is the homie, man. I really stick up for the guy.
Behind the lens.
He's the man. He's the man. But you guys carry such an amazing energy on here. I can tell that whoever's actually your audience and listening to this, they must gain so much value. And you know, you guys keep it entertaining. You guys are faith-driven men. Like, you know, I'm excited to see where you guys go. Seriously. Seriously.
Man.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely,
Hey,
man. This was definitely a great pod, man. What you got for the people, Keith?
Hey, man, tapping back in what we said in the middle of the podcast, bro. Making money ain't always sexy. Sell the shovels and let everybody else fight over the gold. Sell the shovels and let everybody else fight over the gold.
Hey, that's a bar right there, man. They said it all. Hey, it's Freewenow.
Till it's backwards.
Yes, sir, Ski. And we out.
No!